back to Foul Ball Talk. This is the official kickoff to spring training 2025 with the Baltimore Orioles. Tim Malarkey, Matt Trigger here on the Pigtown Sports YouTube channel. This is Foul Ball Talk. Tim, it's been good, man. Getting back on the screen with you. We were supposed to go live at 9, but we had a little bit of technical difficulty on both ends, and we are officially on air. Tim, how's it going, buddy?
It's going good. It's going good. Yeah, we had to just kind of shotgun it tonight. We don't even have our new backdrop up or anything yet.
Yeah, no, it's completely, just bare bones right now. But with that being said, pitchers and catchers reported yesterday, and we are officially going into the season with the same roster that we talked about a week and a half ago. The last time that we were on air, Tim. Um, I'm trying to remain cautiously optimistic here, and I'm struggling to do so. Um, it's funny that we're going into this season with this rotation.
I'm gonna battle you a little bit on this one.
I
I'm not.
expected to.
I am overly optimistic, I guess you could say. Maybe a little bit of a homer coming out in me, but I don't think it's as bad as some people think when you look at it in comparison to other teams. Um, just for example, Dean Kramer. You know, he is going to be our 4 or 5, probably 4 with Sugano. If he ever makes it to the United States, that's a different story. But um, Dean Kramer would be a 3 on probably 65 to 70% of MLB rosters. I don't think people realize he's pitched 420 innings with like just over a 3 ERA. Um, we think of him as Dean Kramer because we've had Grayson and we've had Burns, and it's just he's always kind of been that guy. But if you take a step back and compare him to the rest of the league and their 4s and 5s, he's better than them. He would be a 3 on most teams in the league. So if our 1 is Eflin, our 2 is Grayson, and our 3 is probably going to be Morton, but 4 Kramer, I'm okay with that. It's the only position, the only spot in our rotation right now that scares me, which is why people are calling for go get an ace, is the 5th spot. Because if you slid all of our lineup right now back and had a number 1, you moved everybody down 1 spot, then it would be a thing of beauty, right? But I actually think that this 5 is going to be able to scrap it together this year. I really do.
I'm kind of worried about who that 5 is going to be. There's Sugano, there's Alvarez, there's Povich, there's McDermott, um, there's Suarez. Um, you got to have a lefty in the rotation. It would be crazy to go into the season with a 5-man, rotation where there's all righties, and it's not unheard of. But you initially want a lefty in there just to kind of mix things up. And Povich is that guy. He's the only left-handed starter we got that's healthy right now. Um, yeah, this is. I'm a little apprehensive to be, you know, excited about this starting 5. I think our offense is gonna carry this team more so than the starting pitching this year, and
Mm-hmm.
that's just early early prediction. We're in the second week of February, and I'm not trying to be doom and gloom or anything like that. I was highly pissed most of this offseason. Every show that we did, I was bitching about something. Um, you know, it's just gonna be hard for me to put stock in this team being a legitimate competitor in the AL East, knowing that we're going into the season with what we got. I'm not saying Eflin sucks. I'm not saying G Rod sucks. I'm not saying any of them suck. I just I that 5 hole just really worries me. I like Kramer. I honestly thought Kramer was going to get some trade interest to, to sweeten the pot on a deal for a bat or a better starting pitcher. and he's been a bulldog this year. So the last couple of years. So I understand why we're keeping him. I just when I look at the transition from Burns to what we got now in terms of our one, we didn't have Eflin at the beginning of last year, obviously. Um,
So if opening day was tomorrow, what's your 1 through 5 right now?
right now, my 1 through 5 is Grayson is the one. I, I, I want to say Eflin's two, and I give the nod to Grayson because he's expected to be that ace, and not because I think he's better than Eflin. I think Eflin probably deserves the nod. If the season started tomorrow, I think Eflin starts opening day, which he probably will, barring a move for anybody huge, which I don't see happening now that we've reported. Um, but it's Grayson, it's Eflin, it's Morton, it's Kramer, and I would go Povich over Sugano. I think Sugano would be the long man starting the year. You got to have a lefty in there. Sugano's unproven at the major league level. He's unproven at the minor league level. He's a 35-year-old rookie coming from Japan. So,
We don't know what to expect.
right. So he could be another Fuji for all we know, where he's on some nights, off some nights. I think that he has fantastic numbers coming from Japan, but at the same time, why are you waiting 10 to 12 years into your professional career to jump stateside?
Yep. Not to mention, we glossed over it, but to everybody watching right now, just so you know, out of spring training today, Sugano has not arrived yet. He was having visa complications. The team says that he should be here by this weekend. The only thing that's strange about it is that he was throwing in Hawaii earlier. So that's kind of what raises my eyebrow because he was in Hawaii. So I don't know what's going on with that situation, but not a good way to start spring training there.
It's
On
really not.
It's kind of a awkward situation. Um, but yeah, I mean, back to my question to you about our 1 through 5. My 1 through 5 is Eflin off the top, no matter what. I think just veteran presence that just he's the vet. He's got to be the give me my ball. Now, this is barring that no trades happen. And based off of Elias's quote today, I don't think we're gonna have any more changes before the season starts. But Eflin, Grayson, Morton as your three. He's an inning eater. I'm excited for him. I think I'm a lot more excited for Morton than most casual fans are. The guy, I think it was the last 6 years, he's in the top 10 innings out of all of the league, like inning eating. Um, the dude is going to just be a horse for us. It's something we lacked last year. I mean, how many times did we get on this show last year, Matt, where we were worried about how long is Povich going to be able to go tonight? How long is Suarez going to be able to go tonight? Now we have that guy in our rotation that we know is going to go out there and just eat innings every 5 days. So that's a big bolster to our rotation that I think we lacked. Then you have Kramer, and then I agree with you on the 5 right now until we know more about Sagano. It's got to be Povich. We saw kind of what happened with Grayson when he came up halfway through his first year and then his second year. We were like, wow, we got something here. So just being hopeful. Met the guy, talked to the guy a couple weeks ago. He's locked in. He was one of the only guys I talked to that was worried about getting up at 7 a.m. the next day for his workout before spring training even started. So I think Povich is locked in. I don't think we see McDermott for a little bit. It would be exciting if we do. I think he's going to be later down midway through the season if we need him, barring knock on wood, we don't have the injuries that we have last year. But if you think about it, even without counting Suarez, if you give Sugano a definite spot on this roster, we have 6 starters right now.
Yeah,
So,
we do. I like the fact that we have more than just a definite four and a maybe five like we did last year. Um, Having the option to insert Sugano, Povich, or Suarez into that five, lends you options. Hyde over the last couple of years, he's gone to a six-man rotation, you know, sparingly, but it's not beneath him to do it.
Nope.
Um, I think it might be a way to keep everybody fresh and kind of stretch, the innings situation to where he doesn't want everybody getting up there high in innings. But you got a bulldog in Morton, you got an innings eater and Kramer. Eflin's going to be here a whole year. He's going to eat some innings, and the only one that really worries me about innings eating is Grayson. And it's not because of a talent standpoint; it's because of a health standpoint.
Yeah, that's his biggest obstacle to overcome. Can he stay healthy?
Yeah, I believe that if he stays healthy, he can win 15 to 17 games alone just on his talent. He's got the arm talent. He's got the bulldog mentality. Um, this offense is going to carry us to some wins. Now, I don't know where it goes, in terms of the starting nine. Um, I was listening to the 105.7 The Fan this morning on my way to work, and Rob Long and Jeremy Kahn were talking about where Urias and Mateo fit into this lineup. And quite frankly, it's a good question because, and, you know, it, they're going to get at bats, but who are you sitting on the bench at this point? What is this starting nine going to look like to you come, March 27th or whatever it is? How do you feel that this lineup is going to look? Because he was thinking Urias is going to get quite the amount of at bats, and he was thinking Mateo might be a more of a once or twice a week kind of guy.
Yeah, it's tough. I kind of worked it up before the show because I knew you were going to ask me something like that. We can go back over the pitchers that I selected, but it's definitely tough. I think as far as your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We're going to carry 13 guys, and that's if we carry 20. I mean, if we carry 13 pitchers, we're going to carry 13 fielders. We might carry 12. I don't know how Hyde's going to work it, but I mean, you automatically are getting Adley. You automatically are getting Sanchez, um, unless
Now they
something crazy goes nuts at spring training. But I don't see, they paid a bunch of money for him. So Adley and Gary, definites. Mountie, definite. O'Hearn, definite.
Yep.
Jackson, definite. Gunner, definite. Westberg, definite. Cowser, definite. Mullins, definite. O'Neill, definite. Loreno, definite. That's 12. I mean, that's 11. So we got 2 spots left between Heston, Urias, and Mateo. Now we know Mateo is not going to be back for a while, so that makes it easy. It'll be Heston and Urias. Um, but we're forgetting about Carlson. So that's the tough thing with those 11 names that I leave that are all definite. That leaves off Carlson, Heston, Urias, and Mateo. So Mateo's out in injury. You have 2 spots with Carlson, Heston, and Urias. Pick your 2.
You got to have Heston.
Yeah, I agree.
You got to have Heston on the roster. Um, this is one of those situations where now looking at the roster construct and how it was built, bringing back O'Hearn's a head scratcher.
It's interesting. It definitely is interesting. The only way that you get Carlson on the roster, I mean, Carlson, Heston, and Urias on the roster is if you carry 12 pitchers, which
I don't think they're going to do that this early in the year.
they'll carry 13.
They're going to have to. I mean, it's not like we got. I mean, it's not like we got a lot of days off in the beginning of the year to where you can kind of stretch your pen to 12. Having that 7 in there instead of that eighth guy, and you don't want to shorten the bullpen, knowing that you're not going to potentially see Batista. We're not going to see him till later in the spring, so that's another thing they announced yesterday is that Batista's not going to throw until nearly mid March.
Right.
In a live action game, he might be throwing bullpen in simulated games, practice, but he's not doing that against live hitting of other teams till pretty much the opening day. So you don't know what you got there. So you can't be down a pitcher and if Batista isn't what you need him to be, you're gonna have to make another roster move immediately, and you don't want to start out, fiddling with options the first week of the season. So you got to go 13-13. Um,
And they're gonna bring in Batista slowly, so he's got to still go through Grapefruit League and get buffed in there. But I mean, my biggest roadblock is we already knew it after all of these signings is the outfield because I mean, in my opinion, my humble opinion, your locks are going to be Cowser, Mullins, O'Neill, and Loreno. Now, out of the three people that we just discussed shooting for a shot, you have Carlson, Heston, and Urias. Urias doesn't play in the outfield,
but he
so
plays everywhere on the infield.
he does. So you're going to give Urias that backup to be the everywhere on the infield guy, and you're going to select. You're going to carry, I guess, 5 outfielders. Who's going to be the last spot? It's Heston or Carlson. Heston and Carlson might be literally fighting for a spot right now.
Yeah. Do you see Urias getting at bats against lefties and taken away from Holiday in the lineup?
Of course I do. Do you want to know why? Because of your buddy,
Who's my buddy?
Brandon Hyde.
No, he's not. Let's not do that. Let's not do that.
You know why? Because he loves his matchups and he can't get away from them. We're going to see it all year long.
Yeah. And I think they're going to throw a lot of lefties. Teams are going to try and position us against a lot of lefties just because we're a left-handed heavy lineup.
Mhm.
And it's chess, not checkers. And I understand that. I totally understand that, Tim, but it's one of those situations where um you're gonna have to make a tough decision. And honestly, if they can find a trade partner for O'Hearn, I would feel much more comfortable having Heston locked into this lineup because Heston can do everything O'Hearn can do, and he's
Mhm.
faster and he's younger. I don't want to see Heston back down in AAA, and I don't want to see Heston being shopped for a trade if it's not going to bring in somebody serious.
That's why it's just interesting to me that they're carrying this many right now. It almost like truly makes me feel like something is behind the scenes going on that we don't know about. I don't
I,
know. That could just be, me being a hopeless romantic with it, but
After the last couple weeks of the off season that wound down, and now we're in spring training, I have no faith that they have something cooking because the Padres came out and said that they're not going to trade Cease or King, and so that really limits who you're going to go get. They missed the boat on Flaherty,
sure did.
and not that I wasn't a huge proponent of bringing him back, but I thought he would have made the rotation substantially better.
Of course.
But that this gives me pause, and I want to kind of go back to one of the comments earlier where Birdland stated his rotation is just as good as the 101 win team 2 years ago. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that because I don't see it on paper. I don't see where that makes sense to him in order to say that out loud.
I mean, here, I'm going to run it. Let me just pull it up real quick. Um but I mean, I get what you're saying. I think that this rotation is relatively close to it as far as what I think we're going to expect. It's
It,
to me that I hate talking about this and being that we're going to live and do or die by this 5-man rotation and oh, this Orioles offense is going to be incredible and they're going to have to carry this rotation and blah blah blah. The reason I hate saying that is because what did we complain and bitch and moan about the last 3 to 4 months of Orioles baseball? The bats went silent.
yeah.
It's I don't care who you have pitching, can't hit the ball. And I think people look at these names and completely forget what happened last year.
I am 100% convinced that that is the reason why Corbin Burns didn't stay here in Baltimore. We can talk money, we can talk family location like we did, we can talk convenience, we can talk all that. But the fact of the matter is that in nearly 70% of his starts, he didn't get any run support. So we have lived and died by the long ball the last 3 or 4 seasons. It seems like we've been doing that for the better part of the last decade, going back to the Adam Jones and Nick Markakis teams.
All right, here's your 2023. Ready? Kyle Gibson started 33 games. Dean Kramer started 32 games. Kyle Bradish started 30 games. Tyler Wells started 20 games. Grayson started 23 games. And Cole Irvin started 12, if you want to throw him in there.
So, looking at that, I know we won 101.
Jack Flaherty did come in and start 7 games. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
John Means only did 4. Jesus.
But you're also talking about
Your 5 was Gibson, Kramer, Bradish, Rodriguez, Wells.
but there's no pitcher on this staff that's as good as Bradish when he's healthy. Right now. If you have a healthy Kyle Bradish, he is your far and away one.
Yeah.
And it's not close. That's factual information.
I agree.
It's not even close. I don't even want to debate it. That's the biggest statement right there.
That's
Gibson,
why we missed the boat last year with him getting hurt. Burns into Bradish, like with what?
correct. And then you have Gibson, who Morton could very well be a Gibson-esque bulldog type of pitcher, but Gibson gave us 33 starts. That's incredible for a guy that was in his mid 30s, late 30s at the time. And I'm just looking at it. Flaherty giving us 7. Between Flaherty and Irvin, they gave us 19. So I'm looking at this rotation right now. Who is that guy that's going to give you 33 starts right now, and more than half of them can be quality?
I think it's Charlie Morton.
Right, but that can be Morton. But is Morton going to go 6 or 7 innings for 30 quality? I mean, for 33 starts, where you're going to expect him to go at least 6 on half of them?
I think if anyone can, he can.
But he's 41 years old, Tim. I'm not trying to just talk talent. You're verbalizing that you expect a 41, almost 42-year-old pitcher to give you 170 innings if he averages out 5 and a third or 5 and 2/3 over 30 starts. And it's not going to be that way every single time. He's going to have nights where he gets lit up, and he's going to have nights where he goes deep into games. But he's 41 years old, Tim.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Nope. I hear you.
So you really got to temper those expectations that he's not going to be that monster, innings eater he was in Atlanta. I'm not downplaying his signing. I think he's going to be a good pitcher for us this year. I think he's going to give you a lot of what Gibson gave us a couple years ago. But that's a lot. That's a big ask of a 41-year-old starter. And then
yeah, no, I totally agree. It's a big ask. I'm just trying to pull. You keep going on it. I'll find it.
that's kind of like, what do you expect from a 35-year-old rookie Sugano, who threw a ton of innings over in the NBO?
Mm-hmm.
What are you gonna expect out of him? What are you gonna expect out of Kramer this year? Kramer's been highly productive in his role, but now Kramer's in a situation where he's not a maybe in this rotation. He's your 4 or your 3, depending on how you look at it.
All right, I found it. Just to throw this out there so that
Yeah.
you can hear it. Charlie Morton pitched 150 innings in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. He pitched 150 innings. There was only 7 other pitchers in baseball that have done that for that many consecutive years.
Okay.
Do you know who's in that group with him that has done it for one more year, starting in 2016 through 2024?
Please don't tell me it's Burns.
Kyle Gibson.
See, okay, so I okay, stats don't lie, but all those seasons haven't been in the AL East.
Correct. And
This is a very difficult division to pitch in.
right. And as we saw last night, it's only getting worse.
Yeah, Alex Bregman went to Boston on a 3-year, $120 million deal. So he's now in that Boston lineup. You know, I don't care what anybody says. Boston's going to be a good team. They might not be a great team, but they're going to be a good team. Every team in this division finished above 500 last year. You know,
Yep. And
it's not like this division has two teams that suck. Like
no,
they're all
not at
good.
all. And I was just throwing that out there because I get it. He's 40 whatever years old, and he's going to come to the edge of the cliff. I'm just hoping that it's not this year and he puts up another 150 innings.
Yeah,
But
so
at some point, it does have to come to an end. I understand
so
that.
he's averaging, if you look at his innings, 30 starts, roughly average of 30 starts a year. That's an average of 5 innings per outing.
Yep, he's
You,
thrown
you know,
150 innings since 2017, every single year.
every single year. But like you said, let's hope he doesn't hit that cliff and he starts to free fall, because there's not really if you have to put Morton in the pen for a little bit, or make him your long guy for a little bit to kind of stretch him out or save him. You don't know what you're getting with Sagano.
That's my biggest what if about the whole pitching situation.
It is.
Is because
Well,
I've never seen it before.
so
I don't.
while we're on the pitching side of things, who are your pitchers that make this roster?
Oh God, let me pull it up.
I
This is another tough one. I think I got down to 2 spots where I wasn't sure. All right, so 1 through 5: Grayson, Eflin, Kramer, Povich, Morton. Now, this is where it gets interesting. 6 would be Sugano. That means that we're carrying 6 starters, right? That leaves 7 spots for a bullpen. If we carry 6 starters, that leaves 7 spots for a bullpen. So if we're doing that, then, and this is assuming Felix is starting the year. We'll take a couple weeks before he's there, so they'll have an extra spot. But just assuming Felix is starting the year, Keegan Aiken, Felix, Cano is going to make it. You know that. Sir Anthony's going to make it. You know that. Kittredge is going to make it. You know that. CNL Perez is going to make it. You know that. I haven't even mentioned Suarez yet. So if I mention Suarez, we're full. That's leaving off Soto, who you know is going to make it. Selby, Young, Rogers, we know is hurt now, so we're good there. Baker, he's up and down, always has been. But I mean, out of these names, Matt, who we know Soto is going to be on the team. Who are we kidding? Gregory Soto is going to be on the team. Out
yeah,
of these bullpen arms, who are you dropping? You have Aiken, Felix, Cano, Sir Anthony, Kittredge, Perez, and Suarez.
Cano.
I think it's Soto, Perez, and Cano might all be fighting for a spot between the 3 of them. Because I
Yeah,
think Aiken, or I mean, it could be Aiken too, which wouldn't insult me. But I think definite locks will have a spot are going to be Felix, Sir Anthony, Kittredge, and Suarez. So between those others, you have 3.
yeah. I don't trust Cano. My faith in Cano has gone down, and yeah, Brendan Soto got 4 mil, and I think Povich will be in the rotation. He's the only lefty starter we have, in big league camp. It seems like right now that's vying for the major league roster.
Speaking of big league camp, before I forget about it, Jesus. What was I gonna say? I had it pulled up. Cade Stroud is down there blowing fastballs by our whole team. He turned Adley out of his shoes today, and Adley lost his bat.
I'm not going to get started on Adley Rutschman right now. I'm not going to. I'm not going to do it. Felix is not. The team is saying he's healthy. The bullpen will be strong with Felix, but Felix isn't going to throw to close to opening day, Brendan. They already announced it yesterday that he's not going to take the mound in the Grapefruit League until near the end of spring training, if he does at all. There's a very good chance that we see Felix for the first time on a mound against live hitting sometime during the first week of the regular season, which is scary. It's utterly terrifying. The pitching staff is going to be crazy because like we talked earlier, your 1 through 4 is already going to be Eflin, G-Rod, Morton, Kramer. Then you're going to have Sugano and Povich and Suarez in that pitching. So that right there is 7. Like you
You're
said,
counting Suarez as a starter. I
I'm
mean,
just counting him. He's going to be I think he's going to make the late. I think he's going to make the
yeah,
major league team.
he's because he can be a starter. He can be a bullpen.
Yeah.
He's like the freaking Jorge Mateo of a pitching
Yes.
lineup. But
So he can go anywhere. He can pitch late in games. He can be your bridge, like your long man. He can be a bullpen arm. So you got 7 right there off the bat between Sugano, Suarez, Povich, and then the first 4 that I just named. Like you said, Soto's making this roster, so that's 8. Batista's making this roster, that's 9. Kittredge is making this roster, that's 10. Perez is going to make it, that's 11. And
you haven't mentioned Aiken and Cano.
I think Aiken makes it just based on him being a lefty. I think even though him and Perez are kind of the same, they're both lefty specialists. Perez throws gas, and Aiken's got blackmail on somebody in the Orioles front office to keep on making this goddamn team.
So then you're at 12. That leaves you one spot between
Dominguez, Cano, and
I don't know.
I would take
It's tough.
Dominguez. If I have to choose between Dominguez and Cano, I'm taking Dominguez.
You know what I want to see? I want to see Selby take Aiken's spot. That's what I want to see.
That would be nice, but I think that I honestly believe that Cano's spot should not be safe on this 26.
I think that you shouldn't carry 3 types of kind of the same guys. Now, don't tear me up, people in the comments or anyone listening, but in my opinion, I think Sir Anthony and Soto are kind of like each other in their styles. And if you're carrying them, do you really need Cano?
No, you
Because
don't.
I don't know.
You don't need Cano, and Cano has been the least consistent out of all of them. Let's just
I don't
call
know.
it how.
Don't get me started on Gregory Soto.
We know what Soto is. Soto's boomer bust almost every time he's out there. We know what that is.
Yeah,
But
we got the whole failed Phillies bullpen on our team.
I get it. But Cano went from being lights out, didn't give up a run for like 4 months during one of the seasons a couple years ago. He had a decent year in 23. And then last year he just completely fell apart. He became a very unreliable arm. And I get it. I think he was a waivers guy or a trade guy. I think he was like the addition in the Minnesota deal. I think he came from the Twins. For Lopez, I believe.
It's tough. I just got lost sitting here trying to think of who I'm giving those last 2 spots to, and I can't.
You have to make a tough decision, and you can't carry 14 just so you don't have to cut one of those guys. You got to do 13 and 13. just with the way the team is structured right now, you gotta give each side of this 26 man equal footing.
You know what I guarantee you they're gonna do? Felix won't start the year on the 26 man, and they're gonna have whoever they have competing for that last spot because they know Felix is gonna be a guaranteed spot. But if they're gonna, let him play to get his legs under him, they're not gonna give him that spot to start the year, and
Oh, IL them.
they're they're gonna have people competing live on our 26 man for that last spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I
it's probably gonna be a mix of Cano, Sir Anthony, and Soto.
yeah.
I wish it was Keegan Aiken.
You know, it's like Cano tried to figure out what his out pitch was in the middle of the year. Instead of just throwing heat like he normally used to, he's trying to get guys out on a sinking fastball. And when your sinking fastball doesn't have any break to it, you're throwing a meatball down the middle of the goddamn plate and you're getting crushed. I I don't dislike Cano. I just think he doesn't fit on this iteration of the Orioles. I'll say this. We've talked about it before. And I know that you're a SETI guy when it comes to the Orioles, you know, prevalent notable players. I love Cedric Mullins, but I don't believe SETI should be on this team. Colton Cowser is your everyday center fielder. He should be. He shouldn't be playing corner outfield on this ball team. He should be your center fielder and he should be hitting somewhere 1 through 5 religiously. This team has to cut bait with veterans that are holding back guys at key positions, and that's not what and they're not doing that right now. Mountcastle is entrenched at first base when we could see what Mayo is made of at first base.
Um,
Mayo's down there hitting 480-foot home runs over the Eagles' nest at spring training, and you got him playing third base.
they got him playing third base because they're shopping him around.
Right. But if you're not going to make any moves for a good starting pitcher or a good bullpen arm, why are you why not get rid of the veterans that are in the way at this point? If you're not going to trade the prospects, get rid of the veterans that are holding them up.
I hear you. I think this is the last year for Cedric, honestly. And I think it could be an early year for Cedric if he gets off to the same start he did last year. Let's face it. I mean, we're spoiled with Cedric, though, because we went through years of him being our dominant leadoff guy, Mr. Always on base, making. Even today, he'd still go out there and make crazy outfield defensive plays, but it's his bat that's the issue. And if he gets off to the start that he got off to last year, the tenure might be cut a little short, but I think honestly this is probably his last year.
But here's the thing. The thing that Mike Elias has done, he has drafted an outfielder in the first round nearly every single year he's been our general manager. It's either outfield or shortstop. So you got Honeycutt down in the minors. You got Enrique Bradfield down in the minors. You got Dylan Beavers down in the minors. You got Judd Fabian down there. You got a bunch of outfielders that are fringe guys. And then you're going to let Cedric Mullins stay on this team, knowing that he hasn't hit his body weight consistently the last 2 years. I get defense, but at what point are you going to stop sacrificing your defense? I mean, sacrificing your offense in the name of defense.
And the other argument people would make is you keep him on your team for speed. Well, that wasn't a factor last year because we weren't stealing bases.
Nobody was stealing bases. And this all circles back to the skipper. This all circles back to the skipper.
I am excited to see our new bench coach down there in uniforms today, though. The pictures coming out of there of The old catcher himself reunited, and it feels so good.
Chirinos.
Chirinos, yeah.
I'm more excited to see Buck Britton on the bench because we talked about this in the offseason, and we'll talk about this more as the season goes on. If they hit a wall the way they did last year and things start to falter, Buck is the manager. They're, I totally believe that Elias didn't pull the trigger, so to speak. Not the no pun intended, but he didn't do anything necessary to put this team to the next level. You got the same guys coming back. You got the same manager that by all accounts, we don't know whether or not he lost the clubhouse or he didn't. There were so many leaks coming out of the warehouse over the last 8 months. You don't know what was going on. And the fact that this dude has not won a playoff game with this talented roster, it's despicable. It it's borderline insanity. And
Um,
and now you're talking about keeping Mullins, keeping Mountcastle. I like these guys. They were here through the rebuild. But now you got these prospects that you've been hoarding who are now borderline no longer prospects, and you have nowhere to put them. Kobe Mayo shouldn't be a showcase at a position he's not good at. Nobody's going to trade for a below average defensive third baseman. Put his ass at first base. What is the holdup? What
who do you
Mount?
think was? Who do you think in our arbitration cost in that we avoided arbitration cost the most?
I don't even know.
Cedric Mullins, 8.725 million. Who do you
So
think?
okay,
Who do you think cost the second most?
probably
I don't.
Mountcastle.
Mountcastle, 6.787 million. Who do you think was the cheapest?
O'Hearn,
Not. I won't include pitchers here.
the cheapest. Oh, I have no idea.
Urias, 3.15.
But Urias is making $3 million to be a utility guy. He's like a less good version of Melvin Moore for this team.
Adley's number was 5.5. I just wanted to get you started, buddy.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Because like you let's talk about him for a second, why don't we? Okay? I get it. This dude is universally loved by everybody, and I love him too. I was so happy when he came up. He's been great PR for the team. He's a good old boy. He's the all shucks bullshit and all that. Like, okay, that's fine. Whatever you want to do. You're the face of the organization, even though I think Gunner is going to be the face moving forward. Bro, did you see the pictures? Like, I know I'm fat. I live with that every day of my life. That dude is carrying around like 20 or 25 pounds more than he was when he got up here.
You know what it looks like to me?
It's what, the TikTok weight?
Nah, it's that first base weight, son.
Yeah. Yeah. He's gonna be moving to first base. Zach said it earlier in our group chat. He's gonna move to first base. Or he's gonna be a DH where he hits almost 300.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we waiting for? You got Samuel Basayo down in the minors. You got Creed Williams
Exactly.
down. You got Creed Williams down in the minors. Those
That
two could have
first
been
name is what we're waiting for.
yeah, we're waiting for Basayo. Basayo's
Yep.
not going anywhere, but I
They're
mean,
gonna stretch. They're gonna stretch one more year of him catching just as many games as he did last year. That's why they're banking on Sanchez to be able to
this
carry some weight
manipulation
there.
of service time is it's such a crock of bullshit, and it makes this fan base pull their hair out. Like, what? Come on, Basayo has no reason to be at the minor league level unless you feel like he's got to see some AAA pitching before he gets up here. But
That's exactly what it is.
but everybody that's a baseball fan knows that the best pitching you're going to see in the minors is AA.
Look what happened to Mayo. That boy was getting turned around in his cleats.
But do you realize they brought Mayo up after he got hurt?
Oh, yeah, after he ran and
Yeah,
dove into the
he
dugout.
he dove into the dugout, and then they let him heal, and then they bring him up.
Mhm.
Okay.
You broke your ribs. Come swing at these 98 mile
Yeah.
an hour fastballs.
Yeah, let's swing at a 98-mile-an-hour fastball that's dancing and has a 12-inch break at the back end of the pitch, and you got cracked ribs, buddy. Yeah, let's do that.
I'm
You know,
telling you, as soon as he gets it down, though, he's gonna be one of the funnest players in MLB to watch. I
yeah,
haven't seen balls leave the park like him in a long time.
but I mean, you could have dealt Mountcastle. Cleveland wanted him. Seattle wanted him. He could have gone to Pittsburgh in a deal. He could have gone anywhere in a deal, Tim. And I get it. He's a Gold Glove first baseman. Totally understand it. Totally, totally, totally understand it. I understand it. But for the life of me, you've hoarded these prospects with the intention of either trading them or putting them on your major league team, and now there's a chance Mayo doesn't even make the 26.
Mhm.
He's on your 40, but he's not gonna make your 26.
Correct. He's
So
definitely not.
so you're signing all these outfielders and these utility guys and so on and so forth, and you're waiting for Mateo to come back. What are we doing here? If you don't bring back O'Hearn, if you trade Mountcastle and you get rid of Mullins, there's Heston's spot. Heston Heston he slides in there, and there's Mayo's spot, and then you can keep Urias and Mateo. You know what I'm saying? Like this makes like I'm visualizing this team, and it's like you're going to do it it's almost like out of spite to your own fan base.
Let me play devil's advocate, though.
Okay.
You lose Mullins, you lose Mountcastle. Where's your leadership?
How do you know who can do it if you don't give them the opportunity?
I hear you. Just so we can recap for our watchers, because we've talked about it before, and you were just on a little bit of a rant
I
saying
was. You're right. I'm sorry.
saying, the Orioles haven't what have the Orioles done? You didn't say they haven't. You said what have the Orioles done to improve this team? So I'll just run through the signings real quick. Um, Loreno, 1 year, $4 million. Carlson, 1 year, 975K. Kittredge, 1 year, 10 million. Morton, 1 year, 15 million. Sugano, 1 year, 13 million. Sanchez, 1 year, 8.5 million. O'Neill, 3 year, 16.5 a year. So you got 6 1 year contracts and one multi-year contract.
Which is essentially a 1-year deal because he's got to opt out after 25.
Correct. That's why I listed as 16.5 a year, because he has an opt out.
Yeah. So which means every one of those guys are able to be dealt if shit goes south or they need help. But like Brendan was saying in the comments, Adley could be the leader. I think Gunner has the ability to be a leader. We don't really know. He's not very vocal from all accounts. I don't think you need that rah-rah leader, but Mullins is just the elder statesman. That's just how the roster is. Him and Mountcastle have been here the longest on the hitting side,
They have.
and they got us through some tough years, and I'm always gonna love them. But what like I see them in the same light as Trey Mancini that just got an invite to the Diamondbacks.
I love that, dude. I really love that.
So do I, but Mancini hasn't played in the majors in 3 years, it seems like.
Yeah, no.
Maybe
So
2 years.
he didn't play last year, and then the year before that, he only played like however many games for the Cubs, and he was so.
Right.
Um,
I understand that you need veteran leadership, but there's 26 guys in that clubhouse, and if you got 41-year-old Morton, you got Sagano, you got Kittredge, you got, Wells and Bradish are gonna be back eventually. You got Sanchez in there. Come on. like, really? I hate to be talking about this in the first show of the season, but it's like you have all these prospects that you don't want to trade. And I understand, like, for instance, San Diego was asking for Basayo and Mayo
Westberg.
and Westberg for Cease, which their general manager smoking, smoking PCP if he thinks that that's ever gonna fly ever in this organization. He was just asking for something so absurd that we would pretty much leave him alone at that point. I, but those two guys and O'Hearn, like O'Hearn, like okay, a couple years ago he was a pinch hitting magician. He was clutch, and then last year he was just okay. His defense is subpar in the outfield. His bat's okay, but you have Heston sitting here. You have Mayo sitting here, and it's like those two roster spots would be guaranteed locks for those guys. They're in their mid 20s now. They're no longer 19, 20, 21 years old. Why are we still holding on to guys that are over 30 or at 30 or close to it when you have them sitting there?
It's the Mike Elias way, Matt.
I don't like his way right now. Like I'm kind of mad about this shit. Like this is I wanted to avoid going on these rants, but if anybody that's watching this show right now in the comments can explain to me what value Mullins and Mountcastle bring to the 2025 Orioles, I would like to hear it because I don't see it. M- they essentially moved the wall back in because his numbers dipped. They fell off a cliff. They moved that wall back to get a ace here. They don't re-sign the ace, and then they move the wall back in. What are we doing? Like this is hokey shit right here, Tim. It's hokey shit.
All right. So speaking of you don't like the Mike Elias way, let me just read you this quote out of spring training today.
Yay.
Quote, "This is a group we feel ready to take into the season, and every day that ticks along into spring training, the odds of an outside addition kind of tick down, but there's always a possibility."
I'm so sick of these people in charge in Baltimore, whether it's the Ravens or the Orioles. They say a whole lot of nothing and they use the maximum amount of words possible to say nothing. It is like they all have the same handbook where they have this coach speak, this GM speak, where they say everything and nothing all at the same time. And they just and this fan base just eats it out of the palm of their hand like clockwork. It's crazy.
You think
That
they
me
have lunch together?
Yes, and they probably sit there and laugh. Oh, what are we gonna tell the fan base today? Like, come on, man. Like,
Um,
we have 192 wins the last 2 years,
mhm.
and Hyde is 0-7 in the playoffs. Elias trades away DL, Joey Ortiz, and gets Corbin Burns, and they don't do a damn thing to keep him. I don't want to hear any, "Oh, we offered him X amount of money." No, he's wearing a Diamondbacks uniform right now. I don't want to hear that. Like come on.
I'll read you the rest of Elias's quotes because I've had these geared up because I knew you were going to have different opinions on all of them. So this is like the same first day of spring training address that he does every year that all GMs do. And this is when last year we found out that people were injured, that, we got down to spring training and all of a sudden our starting pitch,
Radish.
yeah, our starting pitcher was out for the year. So I'll just read through the whole quote. It's pretty easy. Um, Felix Batista is feeling good. He's throwing bullpens. He has a good chance of being ready for opening day. Many of Batista's initial bullpens and appearances will be in controlled environments on the back fields, but he'll see Grapefruit League action later this spring. Trevor Rogers is a number of weeks behind schedule and likely misses opening day due to a kneecap. Jorge Mateo is unlikely for opening day. Sugano is getting his visa and should be here in Florida by this weekend at the latest. Zach Eflin's wife gave birth to a baby boy, so Eflin is not at camp right now either. He is with family. After all of those, Mike Elias was asked about Heston Kjerstad because he hadn't touched on Heston Kjerstad. He said, Heston Kjerstad has earned the right to get plenty of at-bats this spring training, and Heston Kjerstad has earned the right to get plenty of at-bats this spring in the corner outfield and DH. Not spring training. This spring in the corner outfield and DH.
I hate it.
We're gonna platoon the hell out of every position.
Yeah, this is they're throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks, and it stinks to high hell. You know what? Trevor Rogers wasn't making this ball team. Let's just call it how we see it. Trevor Rogers didn't even finish the year in Baltimore last year. He was down in Norfolk. Okay,
That was a solid trade. Connor Norbury and Kyle Stowers for Trevor Rogers. You didn't like that?
No, I mean they all finished in AAA. I think. I don't think any of them finished on the major league roster wherever they were last year.
Norby did.
Oh, whatever. That's a big nothing burger. Okay. Sugano. Okay. Sugano. Give him time to get here. That should have been hammered out, weeks ago, but I digress. Batista, me reading between those lines there, says, "Oh, we're going to pitch him on fields that you can't see him throwing."
Correct.
He's going to throw 3.5 innings in Grapefruit League, and then he's going to go on the 10-day IL to open the season, and then he's going to get transferred to the 30-day IL or whatever it is, and then we won't see him until the middle of May. Yeah. So I know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
Like you stop lying to us about these injuries. Please stop lying. I don't care what you got to do. Just stop lying. It's like John Harbaugh saying one of the players has a soft tissue injury and it's a torn ACL. Like, come on, like asshole, what are you doing? No. I refuse to believe that he had the audacity to say all that.
Yep. I think one of the promising things that I did read out of spring training today, though, is that Grayson Rodriguez said he was cleared to pitch again about a week after the season ended. He was fully cleared by all doctors. And he jumped right in hard to his offseason workouts because he wanted to pitch down that stretch and he couldn't. So it was like stolen from him, essentially. He said he feels really good.
I hear all of that, but Grayson Rodriguez needs to stay healthy and give us 25 to 30 starts.
I think even if he could give us 30 starts, they wouldn't let him. Just calling it like I see it.
No, you're right though. You're absolutely right. If he gives us 25 starts this year, I'll be shocked.
He said his main focus for 2025, this is from Grayson, is around his efficiency during starts, something he watched Corbin Burns do routinely.
Oh, gee, where's Corbin Burns?
Down there in Arizona, pitching rattlesnakes.
That shit irritates the soul out of me. And you know our buddy Tucker Blair from St. Joe is one of their scouts.
Mm-hmm.
I should text him and just tell him how much I despise the fact that they signed him. I'm blaming Tucker, even though he's a scout and he's not the GM. I'm still blaming Tucker.
We even moved the wall back in for him, and he still didn't give him. He wanted to go home, though. Are we surprised? He's like 20 minutes from his house.
No, but nothing surprises me with this baseball team. Nothing. They sold us that they were going to be competitive. Liftoff meant lifting all the way off to the MPO and the 40-year-old stockpile of major league pitchers. We are lifting off to another first round sweep in the AL wild card series. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but I'm so mad that Joe Radke is not in this comment section to tell me, because everybody that's still tuned into this show right now, which there's over 20 of you guys live right now, there's been a lot of people in and out. Joe Radke thinks we're going to win 108 ball games. And I'm pretty sure somebody in your household believes the same goddamn thing.
Oh, she's very confident about that. What's your number, Matt? I made a list for you tonight, so we'll go down it.
My number tonight
Wins.
I'm going to be cautiously optimistic when I say 93.
I'll take it. 93 probably puts us right there for the division, if not second place. Definitely not third place.
I'm going to say 93. That is where I got us ending the year. 93 wins. I don't think we have another regression by 10 games like we did from 23 to 24.
All right, who's the batting average leader?
Not Cedric Mullins. Oh, you want an actual pick? Batting average leader is Westberg.
I like it.
Westberg bats 305 this year.
I like it. That's my number one I'm pulling for this year. So
Yeah, Westy bats 305.
Most valuable Oriole.
Gunner.
Yeah, I mean,
Gunner not hitting 40 home runs cost me a steak dinner. I'm not gonna predict 40 home runs.
I think he gets 40 this year for sure.
I think he hits like 47 just to spite me, so I don't get fed.
ERA leader.
Morton.
Oof. I went Grayson there.
Morton.
All right. Let me check my list. I thought I would remember them all. We did home runs. We did RA.
I know you're married to a teacher because you have a checklist for almost everything.
I do. I like to prep and be prepared. I overthink
I'm married to
things.
one and don't use a checklist for anything.
That's because she's got you seasoned where she'll just handle it for you.
She's not watching you right now, is she?
No.
Okay.
Biggest disappointment.
Adley.
Oof. You put that evil on him, Ricky Bobby. And then the last one was
because of where people are expecting him to be and where he's going to be are two different things.
So these could be the same, or you could do them separately if you wanted. Most improved Oriole and or rookie of the year.
Most improved Oriole.
Mine. The reason I said you could do them together is because I believe they are the same player. But
I believe it's going to be Jackson.
There you go.
Yeah, Jackson. I think Jackson's going to end up being our leadoff hitter, and he's going to be one of them dudes that just epitomizes. He's going to have shades of young Brian Roberts.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I was listening to Steve Molesky. I don't know if
he's gone from Madison, right?
He is, yeah. So he's doing his own thing, and it's cool because he's calling into the radio all the time. People, because he's been so big for Madison for so long that everybody's putting him on because they don't want to see him fade from,
we gotta get him on here.
Yeah, definitely. People don't want to see him fade from baseball culture in Baltimore. So he's been around a lot lately. He's doing his own thing. He changed his Twitter hashtag, and it's funny because he's like, I don't know how to do any of this, but I'm going to figure it out. So he's doing his own thing. I've been listening to him a lot. And what he says about Jackson, now, mind you, this is a guy who definitely an Orioles homer, but he's been around the game for a really long time. He made a good comparison about Jackson that really got me thinking is that you have some players that come in their first year and they can't hit a lick, can't hit a ball. They look like crap. They need to rinse, wash, take the year off, work on some things, go back down to the minors, whatever the case may be. Then in their second year, they come out hot, slugging it, crazy. Looks like a player you've never seen before. Those guys go from so low to such a high peak. It's almost tough for them to maintain that high peak.
Yeah.
That peak only lasts 2-3 years, and then you forget their name and you never hear of them again. Then there's the legendary players that are around forever, that are really good and that are household names. And I don't have the list here, but Steve listed these names off of players that come up their first year. They're abysmal. They get sent back down to work on something. They come back up, maybe in that same year, maybe to start their second year, and they're just a little bit better. They're a little bit better. And then he describes it as a step. They take this next step, which is where he thinks we're going to see Jackson this year, where you're hitting for average, you're walking, you're looking at balls when you should be looking at balls, you're swinging and missing on strikes that you should be swinging on. You don't look lost up there anymore, but you're just hitting for average. You put together a nice year defensively and you get out of the season clean. You're not up, you're not down. You just have a nice hit for average season. You draw some walks, you steal some bags. And he said, after you see a player come up and struggle, figure it out a little bit, and then have that year where they're just smooth sailing, hitting for average. That next year is where you see them explode and their career goes. And it runs for 6 or 7 years. So honestly, we could be in that year for Jackson. I hope we are this year, where he gets up, we see him hit for average, we see him stop staring at balls he shouldn't be staring at, we see him stop swinging at balls down in the dirt, we see him steal some bases. People forget he's one of the fastest players in baseball.
And they wouldn't know that because he wasn't running.
Nope.
Nobody was last year, but
Correct.
yeah.
People also don't realize Kowser is one of the fastest people in baseball. But I don't
Hopefully they
know.
let them boys run this year.
I would like to see Holiday just come up, hit for average, put together a nice, decent, solid year, and then really take off.
Yeah, and then maybe our middle linebacking left fielder can actually hit like 35 home runs. I saw that dude take batting practice. Tyler O'Neill looks bigger than Roquan Smith.
Yeah, they might need to test his piss.
Oh, for what? I mean, Tyler O'Neill looks like Christian McCaffrey
Dude, his
almost.
arms are coming out of his neck, Matt.
It's crazy.
It's
Most baseball players are lanky and
yeah,
limber, and O'Neill looks like he's a running back.
he's a freak. He is a freak. Steve Molesky. Yep. He I don't believe he left Masson. I think he was let go.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was made public, but check him out. He's doing his own thing. He's changed his handle on Twitter. You don't want to. I will always remember growing up and seeing him doing the interviews in like in the opening food court doors of Weiss Markets at
Yep.
8 a.m. on Sunday morning. Like,
Yep.
Terrible shaky camera.
Yeah. But yeah, man, that'll do it for this episode, man. We won an hour 8, almost an hour 10 on the first episode of the 2025 season, spring training edition. We'll be back. Gee, Tim, we'll be back probably next week sometime. Kind of recap the first week of spring training.
Yep,
Maybe get a couple games under our belt before we go live again and talk about some updated Orioles news. We'll be back earlier if there's any big news that transpires. If they come out and say Batista's going to miss 3 to 4 months, we'll
don't
be back
say
on
that
here.
shit, Matt.
Yeah, but I'm just
we're gonna be back on because we traded for King.
Yeah, Felix Hernandez, you mean? Yeah, but I digress. Tim, it's always a pleasure sharing the airwaves with you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, for interacting with the show. We will be back next week for another recap on Orioles spring training.
We'll have our real background too, people.
We're troubleshooting. We were supposed to be live at 9. We were live at 9:19. That's my fault. I do take ownership of that. Tim, your setup looks fantastic, and
thank you, sir.
I love the Orioles spring training hat. I believe
is the gray. It looks weird because I don't have my lights up in here, but this is the batting practice hat for 2025. They did a gray alternate this year.
I like that. And speaking of alternate, the Orioles are going back to the all orange.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
love it.
I
I
went a
can't.
little crazy on Twitter when I posted that, but
Yeah, I love that.
yes,
I'm
all
staying away
orange.
from Orioles Twitter because there's a lot of people in Orioles Twitter that engagement farming is their expertise, and I've refused to participate in that. So
We
yeah,
know who you are.
but Tim, let's just kind of give the people a little bit of a preview. We got some potential guests lined up. Not anything solid right now, but um, Ryan Ripken will be a guest on the show at some point in the coming weeks.
Yeah, we
Um,
got Eric Arditi from Barstool Sports.
we'll have Mike Bordick on, working on that as we speak. Tim Kirkjian will be back on the show at some point this year. He has joined some iteration of a baseball show that I've been doing it for 3 years now. So we're hoping to, for 2 years now. So that we're hoping to make that a third year that the great Tim Kirkjian from ESPN joins our show. Have some other surprises, up our sleeve. Josh Towers will be back on the show this year. So we're looking forward to having some, Orioles of old and Orioles of, yesteryear, but guys that are, still firmly in the memories of our younger Oriole fandom days. So
Save some of the surprise guests though. We can't be giving them all our secrets.
yeah, I'm stopping right there. These are people that everybody has seen at one point in time on the screen with us. So we will be back, next week, spring training update part 2 as we head on closer to opening day at the end of March. Tim, where can everybody find you on social media?
This year, guys, we're into our second year of this, so why not make the tag official? It's right there, bottom of your screen at Foul Ball Talk. I claimed the handle. Had to go fight some Twitter demons and talk to support, but I got the handle. So
Yes, you did. You can find me at mtrig_bir. Um, that'll do it, folks. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you guys next week.